Well, it's a big show. Oh, it's a big bad show.
Oh, yeah, it's the big show. It is the External Bum Show. I am Ralph Williams. It's great to be here with you. I am your host today, along with Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune, Smoking Jeremy B. from the Lions Talk and the South Florida Tribune, and Leo Haggerty from Amped Up Sports. It's great to have all of you here today. We were going to have a guest on today, but he got jammed up with Steelers training camp, so that wasn't happening. But hey, here's our usual panel, and let's get started with our introductions. Scott, we'll start with you. It's great to have you here. I know you're on a trip with your wife Candy, and you guys are having a time there in Michigan.
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, I'm here. Let me just get out of the way for a moment. And you see that window over there?
Yes.
Okay. Out there is Lake Michigan. So I'm staying here in Racine, Wisconsin. And it's a beautiful place. It's called the Hilton at the Harbor Walk. I really enjoy coming here. And it's a great place. So I'm here to take care of a little bit of baseball business. And Candy has a lot of personal business that she has to do. And we found this to be the best time before football starts to get going. And then the rest of the year is going to fly. So I'm glad to be on this show. In fact, this is the only show I'm going to do until I get back to Florida late next week. I probably won't resume program until a week from Monday night.
Right.
Glad to be on this one now.
Well, good. Scott, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and also about your book.
All right. Well, you know what? Pull your book up. Mine's buried somewhere. But what I do, obviously, is I am the author of Lessons from the Microphone, and I'm going to be outlining the second part of it while I'm on this trip. Thank you, Ralph. I'll be outlining the second part of it while I'm on this trip as well, so I can hopefully release it maybe by January or February of next year. Right now, what you have to do is you want to go through an entire year so you have enough content to put in there about what's changed. And everybody knows all these streaming deals in and out of the sports world. You know, I think you need a full year to be able to compile it, as well as a lot of the ways that the media is treated and the lack of access in some issues. And a lot of those will be addressed in the new book as well. It'll be more nuts and bolts than the first one, as well as unique ways that you can learn from other sources like movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. So, but on Twitter, you can find /X. You can find me at Tribune South. Also, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. That South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Then you can see all the shows I do with Ralph, Leo, as well as Jeremy as well. So good stuff here in Wisconsin.
You know what, Ralph, I want to jump on with Scott here real quick. Scott, I hope there's a chapter about you and I meeting up at USFFAU because that atmosphere was electric.
Well, I got news for you. One of the things I'm going to be doing as I start to rearrange my schedule, Leo, is I do plan to take more and more trips up to Tampa. So I have a lot of things I want to do. I have past ties, being a USF graduate. So I think you and I could go beyond just that story and maybe create another one or two. Are you deeply connected with the Rays up there?
Not yet. They're going through some really hard times. They traded Eflin. They traded Arozarena. It's like a dumping ground. So yeah. I'm going to wait till after this weekend and then get back with them and say, hey, I'd like to get back in with the Rays. I've been out of town for a month. That's why I haven't pushed.
Right.
Yeah, but I got news for you. One of the things that we're going to do is some Marlins, but I'd like to be able to use the South Florida Tribune as a statewide publication, and I'm thinking about incorporating the Rays into the equation. And that isn't something I'm going to incorporate this year. I'll probably do a lot more creating in spring training and then leading into the regular season. So my baseball operation is going to be probably overhauled during the off season is what it's going to be done.
And the Marlins are up here Monday and Tuesday.
Is what?
Marlins are up here Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Well, Tomorrow is the only game I'll probably.
Yeah, they still have the Reds for Saturday, Sunday, and then they get a day off Monday, and then the Marlins show up Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's right. Next week. Okay, well, the Marlins with the Brewers here, so we'll see.
Okay,
Or
guys.
whoever will be left at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Leo, give us your information to get started here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, everybody, you get a chance, go to ampedupsports.com. We have completely renovated our website. Ralph, we want to get you on and have a specific blog just for your stuff.
Well, I appreciate that.
Tracy's going to be talking with you about that, but we have a tremendous website. The builder is phenomenal. He's given us a whole lot of new stuff to do, but I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. You can catch my blog daily.
And Leo, just so you know, we'll probably incorporate you more into what we're doing. I know you've been off for a while, but don't be surprised if you're contacted a little bit more. And the Fire Up Show is the most likely destination for you. So.
Not a problem.
Okay, Brent, real quick here. So what's the topic this morning? We're going to talk about should quarterbacks be paid what they're getting paid in the NFL. As you know, there's been exuberant amounts of quarterbacks being paid a lot of money, and we're going to get into that later on. But we have some other topics we're talking about today. Smoking Jeremy Ballrich from Lions Talk and the South Florida Tribune. Give us your information.
Well, you can find me at Jeremy Ballrich right on Facebook. You can find me at Smoking Jeremy B on Twitter, Smoking Jeremy B1 on Instagram. You can find me at Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions on YouTube. You can find me on the South Florida Tribune.com and YouTube channel with Scott Morganroth up there. If you go to the website, just hit the drop down and find the Motor City Tribune. Look for my name for contributing writers, and you'll see it there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, thank you.
I'm everywhere.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, you're okay. I just had to take a breath.
Okay. All right. I'm Ralph Williams. I'm the host of the External Bum Show. You can catch my stuff on YouTube, Ralph Williams, RW Media. I'm in the process of being on CRSMmedia.com, which is a sports website, which also sponsors my Sports Corner and sponsors that show. I'm in a process of getting on their network and some other networks. I'm on my way to Erie in late August. And I have a surprise for everybody in October, but I'm not going to say what it is right now. You guys are.
Oh, way to go, Ralph! Tease us.
Huh?
Tease us.
Yeah. It's going to be in October. That's all I'm going to tell
you. Nice.
Okay. So, I'm going to touch base with some people, so you'll know. All right. Anyway, I had a rough week this week. Wednesday. I got note that the TV station that I was going to air my Sports Corner show, my Ralph's Opinion show, my wrestling show on is shutting down operations at the end of August. And we're working with the city of Pittsburgh and the county and the state to try to get some funding to reorganize and get the station. We're going to try to weed out the director because he's the one that caused this problem. And I've spoken to some members of the board of directors of the station. We're going to try to do what we can to rectify this, but PCTV is shutting down operations in August, and so much for that situation. But I do have I'm getting myself a Roku channel, and I'm getting ready to go up on Spotify, and I'm going to work with Leo on the Amped Up Sports website. So things are happening even without PCTV and the radio station. So anyway, that's me. We'll get started. I'll get started with my bums today. My bums are the following. The Oakland A's owner, because now he's gouging fans. Okay, well, he's gouging fans because the last game at Alameda Stadium, okay, he wants to gouge fans, charge double, triple prices for the tickets. And I think that's wrong. And the ownership of the A's are my bum here. And my second bum is George Pickens, wide receiver for the Steelers. Camp has just started, and he's already involved in an argument with the new wide receivers coach, who is not taking his jive or anyone else's jive. That's my bums for today. Scott Morganroth.
If I had to delegate a bum to this whole thing, I would have to say the Miami Dolphins, because I think they could have waited a year for Tua. I don't believe in giving that kind of money to a guy that's only played 1 year without missing any games. I struggle with it. I have been consistent with my opinion on this, so I've got to stay with it now that he's got his money. But you know what? If they did, I know he's the richest Dolphin in their history. I get it. But you know what? I just hope that there's some incentives in that deal. I don't know enough about the deal to fully comment on it, but I'm going to lean on the Dolphins this time. I understand Tua wanted a great deal of money, and you had to do something, but I don't know. I struggle with that contract since he's only played 1 year without getting hurt. That's going to bite him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about that later on. That was one of the topics I had here for our NFL segment. All right, Smoking Jeremy B. Who's your bum today?
The entire Packers organization. How do you make a guy with a data set of 1 in 7 great games in a 17 season the highest paid QB in football? He's tied with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, even though I think he's overpaid because that guy can't stay on the field to save his butt, he's missed more time than Tua in college and pros combined. But he's been to a Super Bowl at least. This guy went and beat a playoff fraud. He beat the Cowgirls. They haven't won past the wild card round since 1996.
Jeremy, I got to give you another kudos, man. A playoff fraud in the Cowgirls. I don't know. Something must be wrong with me lately, Jeremy. I've been complimenting you too much lately. You had a good one on Facebook about Kirby Joseph, and now a playoff fraud in Cal. I don't know, Ballrich. You're making me nervous for all the right reasons.
It is 587 days since Aaron Rodgers completed a pass to someone other than Kirby Joseph.
Well, that's where you got the compliment. I think I'm really delusional now. I really am, that I had to compliment you in back-to-back days, once on live air and the other one on your thing. But I got to give credit where it's due, Ballrich. And you're wearing I like your hat, by the way.
I thought you would.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
All right, Brent's commenting here. It's great to have Brent on with us today, and some of our other viewers. Leo, you're bummed today, or bums?
You know what, guys? I got a combination of bums here, and it's going to be rather interesting. My first bum is Colin Montgomery. Colin Montgomery comes out and tells Tiger Woods, "Hey, you don't need to be over and playing in the open because you can't even compete." The fact that he would come out and say that, even though it's the truth, was amazing. The second thing was that Tiger came on and said, I can compete because I won till I'm 60. I'm going to name Tiger a bum too. If he wants to go and play there until 60 after the embarrassment he showed last week on Thursday, Friday, I mean, you got to be kidding me. It's time. Tiger needs to just go to the senior tour because he's not even going to be a smidgen on a card come Saturday. He will probably start to set a record for most cuts missed. So, yeah, I got Colin Montgomery for having the stones to actually come out and say, "Hey, Tiger, you don't belong here because you can't even compete." And Tiger Woods for saying, "Yeah, I can," when he can't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got a lot of guts bringing up golf on this show.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you know what? All right, King. Morning.
Golf is one of those sports that ranks right up there with darts, bowling, table tennis, and beach volleyball. They're all great with beer.
And you know what, guys?
You forgot about pickleball too.
Yeah, pickleball.
And you know what, guys, about golf? They're the most pampered athletes in the world. Think about this now.
Oh, they are.
They play with complete silence. When they get there, they get their own courtesy car. They get meals there, everything, to and from hotels. I'll tell you what, I would like to see some cheering going on like watching Caddyshack. Listen. Let's see how well they play with that.
Hey, Leo, I got to tell you a funny story about Caddyshack. I think it was out in Florida, Rolling Hills Golf Club, I think it was.
Right.
My dad, my brother, and a few of us actually golfed on that golf course many, many years ago when I could move around. And we were all a lot younger, another lifetime ago. It was a cool course, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, let's get started here. Let's start off. Actually, we'll get started with the NFL. Several things happening in the NFL this week, including Isaiah Buggs. He has been sentenced to a hard labor thing because of the situation with the dog fighting and the domestic violence charges. Mostly the dog stuff. Wasn't dog fighting. I'm sorry. He left some animal abuse and cruelty to animals, and he's been sentenced to a hard labor camp. We'll start with you, Leo. Isaiah Buggs.
Ralph, I don't know if you want to hear my comment on this because we're the only country in the world that gives more protection to animals than unborn children, and that says a lot. I asked one guy that was on the panel one time. I said, Are you upset with the dog fighting? I said, yes. I said, well, are you upset with abortion in that? He said, no. I said, what's the difference? I said, you know what they call a dog in China? This is a sad thing, the buffet line. And that's sad. What do they call a cow in the United States? Burger. In India, it's a revered animal. It all depends on the culture. I'm not defending this, but we need to step back a little bit and look and say, hey, what are we prioritizing here? Dog fighting? No, absolutely not. But let's get our priorities straight.
All right. Smoking Jeremy B., I know you got some comments to make. Isaiah Buggs is a former Detroit Lion and also Pittsburgh Steeler and a Kansas City Chief. Your thoughts, Jeremy?
He started to become a cancer in the locker room here in Detroit. He was helping in the beginning of the season with developing Broderick Martin. That went away the moment his attitude stopped. So they had to separate Martin from Buggs to make it to where he could even play later in the season for 2 games after Buggs was gone, in which a lot of people say he had bad games. He had 2 bad snaps out of 18. I'll explain that another day. But at the same time, Buggs was mad because they benched Charles Harris because he wasn't getting stuff done, but they left him on the bench. They didn't cut him from the team because he was a defensive captain. He was getting in AG's ear anytime he wasn't playing. Yes, he made more impactful plays than the guy that replaced him on the D-line as a starter. But if you're a cancer in the locker room and a distraction, you got to go, especially when you're in a playoff push year.
Absolutely. Okay, Scott Morganroth.
All right, you know what? We do have breaking news here only on the Journal Bum Show. Here's what Russia and the United States are going to offer, okay? Breaking news, okay? It'll be Isaiah Buggs for Paul Whelan, okay? If you want hard labor, then you'll definitely have no problem with Isaiah Buggs. He can kill dogs, he can kill anybody he wants, and I guarantee Russia will have a hard labor guy like no other. And you know what, Isaiah Buggs, you can stay there for 30 years and nobody will frankly give a damn about you. Let's bring Paul Whelan back home already. After all, we were all teased here about Brittany Griner trying to get her back. Yeah, good luck. She got off, Paul's still there, and now she's writing a book, and he's and this guy will never see his family. So here, breaking news only from the External Bum Show. Isaiah Buggs, okay, for Paul Whelan, and that's all I have to say about this.
Well, this is Scott, I got the same thing here, but it says also a player to be named later.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
right.
I heard it for she writes, but anyway.
There you go.
Right. Come on, Ralph. I got news for you. We got to lighten up with some of these things you put out there. We got to lighten it up so we can get them all cranked up.
I want to thank you for bringing up the Paul Whelan thing. He's from this area.
Well, he's from the Metro Detroit area, Novi too, if I understand.
Yeah, well, he's from this area. His family lives in Oakmont, which is a community outside of Pittsburgh. And they've been petitioning and getting the politicians involved and whatnot. I don't know if he was not brought out, as well as Brittany Griner And you know, and it's actually kind of a crime that he's still over there. And I'm hoping that whoever gets into office
Right.
coming up in November gets him out of there. Okay?
Yeah, I hope so.
Who it is? Okay.
Yeah, he's a forgotten man out of all this. That's the thing. But I'm not going to forget this guy. And when the opportunity comes to bring his name up, you darn well I will take advantage of it.
I appreciate you doing that, Scott. I really do.
No
Because
problem.
you know what? People need to know this guy needs to come home. You know, so, and I've been saying that for a long time. Megan, one of the from Australia, is tuning in. Thank you, Megan. She's also part of the Jeremy B. And myself on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock for this football roundtable. All right, Seahawks first round pick Byron Murphy, was involved in a situation with an adult porn star who is transgender, and there's money involved. I don't know what the organization is going to do about this, but this is the Seahawks. Green Bay Packers signed Jordan Love. We spoke about that all this week on all different types of programs, including mine. Tua, which Scott revealed, has signed a 4-year contract, $212.4 million with the Dolphins, and Lions kicker out for the season. Jeremy and I were talking about that before we came on the air. And the Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase not practicing, but it has nothing to do with anything. But he's being benched or told not to practice because of some health issues. So, guys, your thoughts on this NFL news? We'll start with you, Leo.
Well, I want to get into the quarterback situation.
Sure.
Because I don't understand. Well, I do understand that when somebody sets the bar, just because the next guy up doesn't mean he jumps that bar. Again, somebody brought up, why are we signing a guy who hasn't gotten me to a Super Bowl? Why are we signing a guy for more money that hasn't gotten me to playoff? Now, I understand Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence got them there. Okay, Tua, I mean, just because the next guy up, and here's the problem, and the NFL kills itself with this. If you don't make that move, he's going to get money somewhere else.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem. I think, and guys, jump in on this when I'm done, please. I think there's so much animosity right now in a locker room. When you look at a guy that's eating up 15, 20, 25% or more of your salary cap, that's got to cause a problem. Guys, what do you think on that?
Well, you know what's funny how you say that, okay? I always thought, and I think you're going to start hearing more about it as these quarterbacks continue to sign. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, now that the owners are paying attention to it. I think the end result will be a quarterback salary cap is what you're going to be looking at. I really believe that. I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, but as we wait and watch the dominoes drop where they're going to go, Dak Prescott, to me, like I mentioned on our show the other night when I believe it was Wednesday night, to me, this guy here, I think he's a fraud, like Jeremy said. I really do believe that. And, and the Cowboys have not been to a Super Bowl, if I recall correctly, I believe since, 1995, something like that?
Yeah, they played the Steelers.
Super Bowl.
And that's the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
Right, but that's Jimmy Johnson's teams, okay? Even though Barry Switzer got one of the rings that he should have gotten a Christmas card for. So, I mean, but the reality is this, though, Leo. No, you're right. I mean, there will be – that's an interesting intangible, Leo, that you brought up. And what I mean by that is you have division in the locker room because the quarterbacks are making that much money. What about the rest of us? Don't we have families to support? Who are the ones that keep these guys upward, I mean, it's one thing to give them all a Rolex because they've done well. Hey, listen, Rolex is right. I even have one. I keep it in my safety deposit box at home. I don't want to get robbed, but it'll be a valuable asset later. But my point is you're right. A quarterback salary cap is inevitable. I know it. And all the owners have to do is continue to watch this stuff and say, and I personally think that Dak Prescott's going to be playing somewhere else in about a year or two because Jerry Jones isn't getting any younger. And if Dak continues to collapse at key spots, then it's going to be hard for Jerry to lick his chops and be able to pay him more than the rest when he hasn't accomplished nearly as much as the other ones out there. And the other ones are gambles, okay? Jordan Love is a gamble. 1 year and you're getting that kind of money? Really? I already mentioned my thoughts about Tua. Trevor Lawrence is obviously on his second contract.
Jones, Scott, from the Giants. Daniel Jones and Geno Smith.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Daniel Jones' situation different, okay? He's really in a make or break year. And on Inside the Pigskin, you know, we talked about Drew Lock. I believe, personally, I'm going to make a prediction in front of all you guys right now. Drew Lock will be the starting quarterback for the Giants by the middle of the year. I really believe that. And Daniel Jones will be done as a Giant. That's what I think.
And then
you know what, guys? Let me jump in here real quick, Ralph, and guys. I think when you see that quarterback cap come in is when Brock Purdy's contract comes up. Think about this now. Here's the guy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last guy picked.
Right.
He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to an NFC final game twice. He meets the criteria of getting that above the bar salary. The 49ers aren't going to want to pay him because they're going to say, hey, you're just with a great team. That's when this is going to really come to fruition because Brock Purdy, his agent, is going to demand top money. Think if the 49ers win the Super Bowl this year. This guy's going to break the bank.
Well,
and that's when, Scott, I agree with you. They're going to have to put a cap on this. I don't know legally if they're going to be able to do that for a position, but they sure as hell going to try.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Leo, okay? Here's the only reason I haven't even brought this up on Inside the Pigskin, and I think Jeremy knows the way I think, is I was waiting for the rest of the dominoes to drop first before I go out there and incorporate it. Now, some people may want to bring on news topics earlier. Okay, I get that, but I'm not one of those. I want to wait to see how things play out, you know what I mean? And then be able to talk from a position of strength. And that's the only reason I haven't done it, but it's not to say I won't. And secondly, you don't think that they will? I'll tell you what, Leo, I'll bet you a steak and shake steak burger up in Tampa and Fowler, if they're still available around, that I think they will pull it off because you got, 53 guys on a roster? And if you think you're going to get what percentage of the players in the National Football League are quarterbacks and what percentage of the players are non-quarterbacks, and that's how it does get pushed through. And I'm not a big numbers guy. I never pretend to be a big numbers guy. I may drive co-host crazy by texting you at 4 a.m, okay, because I never know what time zone I'm in anyhow. But the point is this. What percentage of players are non-quarterbacks in the National Football League? Which is why I think, Leo, you're on to something that it will get through because of that reason.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Smoking Jeremy B.
Well, you know, I have my own opinion of it. But what's going to happen, and we've all heard about it, it will be a separate salary cap from the team. And the reason why, there are 53 men on the team. So it literally is 1.8% of the team that gets paid as a quarterback. 53 men on the roster. Right. One person is 1.8%. So at 1.8%. So what they're going to do, and it's already being put into that whole 18-game thing in the CBA, the 2 bye weeks, possibly moving the Pro Bowl to mid-season. And I think they're just going to do a skills competition to do away with the flag football, most boring football game we've ever seen in our lives. But at the same time, they're going to do the bye week before and the bye week after with the Pro Bowl in the middle. And it actually makes sense because the Super Bowl will fall the Sunday before before President's Day, thus making that Monday a national holiday. And it should have been there the entire time. So I think that all makes perfect sense. Granted, that only helps federal employees. It doesn't help every local parish or every state because some states don't recognize President's Day. They still recognize George Washington and Abraham's birthdays separately for 2 extra days off. But that's their decision. If it goes.
Well, there's a reason why the NFL valued at $18.6 million. And hockey's at the bottom of the food chain with just $6-some million. Seriously, right. I mean, and the NBA and MLB fall in between the 10.9. So all you did, BALLREICH, was validate what I said. about the 1.8%. I don't know where the 0.8% came in, but at least a 1%. Anyways, I'll give you that. But no, that's inevitable. You're bringing up a point where you tie in the 3-day weekend, which was inevitable. I knew when they went to 17 games, they were going to 18. The owners are just taking that little thing of whittling the old twine here, so you see it break.
Right.
And there'll be more international games tied to the whole thing, where if you don't like them, too bad. You're still getting paid for them. There's only 2 preseason. I know how the NFL operates, and I think a lot of us that follow it on a regular basis do. You know what I mean?
Well, let me
A lot
say
of
this.
people are
What's
getting
going
ahead
on
of them.
with the union? What does the union think about this? So, because if quarterbacks are going to get paid high prices, guys, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have running backs getting jealous. You're going to have wide receivers getting jealous. You're going to have offensive linemen getting jealous. They're going to be like, well, wait a minute, you're separating them from us, and that's wrong. I mean, and I want to know, my curiosity here, guys, is what does the union think about this? What's their thoughts on this?
Oh, come on, Ralph. We just answered the question. The union's going to go all for it, brother. I mean, I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just trying to answer your question. The union's all here, Ralph. Listen, okay? Listen. Okay. The union is all in for it. That you just haven't heard it yet. When, like Jeremy said, 1.8%. And the running backs to me are like indentured servants because they get killed and they're running and their careers are way shorter. So, yeah, they want a big piece of the action. My wide receivers are getting paid more money, way more than the running backs. Is a crime in itself.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean,
right.
These guys here, I'm not saying the wide receivers shouldn't be paid well, but all of a sudden you disrespected the running back and called Rodney Dangerfield with a rock in their hand is what you're doing. So, come on, Ralph. The reality is this, and listen, okay? The rest of the union won't have a problem. It's just how the language has to be written up on a contract is what it is. The key that everybody should learn, I know, is language in writing, okay? And language is the key. And let's face the reality, the quarterbacks will be whining. That's why they're getting paid now, because they know that the salary cap is inevitable. That's why. You're going to see what hockey does then, again, when you're the fourth brother here, is they're going to, hold on, they're going to longer-term contracts over 8 years to get the security is what they're doing. But we all know that doesn't work with the NFL because every year is basically a one-year contract anyways, which is why Matthew Stafford had to go ahead and renegotiate his to make it a fair move for him. So it's all about language, Ralph. On every show that you do, the one thing I want you to try to commit to memory, Ralph, all right, try language in contracts. That's what it's all about.
Right. Yeah, I think it's 5 unions. I know what.
Well, I know. So I'm not telling you otherwise. But the 1.8% is less than the number that you have. I'm not a big math guy, but I do know 1.8% is less than the other amount. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. So what I was getting at, prior to this season, there has only been one quarterback that has made more than the 18% of the salary cap and won a Super Bowl. And his name is John Matthew Stafford when he got traded to the Rams, who literally still had to add players and trade for players in order to win that Super Bowl in that season. It was not a ready-made team that he took over that was made for Goff, and he made it there. That let us not get that confused. And if it wasn't for Jaquiski Tart for the 49ers having hands like Eric Ebron and Jesse Bates doing it in the Super Bowl, they wouldn't have won either game. Right. Because Matthew Stafford did Matthew Stafford things, just like in Detroit, a stupid decision straight at a defender. He does it all the time. As a matter of fact, that's why they had to add those players, is because he threw 6 game losing pick sixes. So they
you know what, guys?
Inadequacies to win that Super Bowl that year.
And you know what, guys? What I find amazing is the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. Aaron Donald won that game. And no one brings this up, that here's Joe Burrow drops back. Jalen Ramsey falls down. Chase is running free in the secondary. He's going to score if Burrow can get him the ball. Well, Aaron Donald nixed that. He got there right before he was able to throw the football. That would have changed the whole dynamic of this on one play. The fact that Aaron Donald wasn't, that's amazing.
But
Oh,
here's the other
yeah,
part that's amazing.
Leo.
The Bengals would have never led if they'd have called that face mask on the or offensive PI on that touchdown play by T. Higgins, because he literally grabbed the defender by the face mask, drug him down before the ball was there.
Well,
Right now,
guys,
I don't know if my
that
Wi-Fi went.
offensive line that the Bengals had that year, and I said this when I did a pre-Super Bowl show here in Pittsburgh with a couple guys, and I said that their offensive line stinks, and it's been stinking since Zach Taylor took over. Their offensive lines have been horrible, and I think they drafted a couple really good offensive linemen this year, and I think they're going to be better.
Now, I don't know if my Wi-Fi went off because I'm on the hotel's Wi-Fi, but the point
That's
I wanted
fine.
to try to get out was Matthew Stafford and Brett Favre are gunslingers, and it's feast or famine with these, and the only thing where their nightmares on is fantasy football. But I've had them both when I was involved with fantasy football on my team anyhow, because I like the fact that they were willing to take chances. But you're right, Jeremy. The Rams needed some reinforcements so that Stafford had some real, and for a while, even though Odell Beckham was helpful to the guy until he got hurt in the Super Bowl.
Right.
That'll make your point.
When you say that 18%, that number breaks down to, out of the $258 million salary cap this year, 46.44%. There are 5 players that make more than $46.44 million. Oh, 6. I forgot about somebody that was already making money that didn't get a contract yet. So there are 6 quarterbacks this year that have a cap hit higher than $46.44 million. Number 1, and we can all say what you want, but none of these new contracts or any of these guys going to get $55 million this year. It's Dak Prescott. His cap hit is $58 million. Number 2, 3, and 4 is now Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence. 2 are on potential, and 1 is because he was in a Super Bowl. I understand the one that I said was in the Super Bowl. The 2 on potential, it boggles my mind, because I think Trevor Lawrence's potential so far has been Daniel Jones. But that's me.
All right,
3. The third one is Tua, and the last one is Goff.
Right. All right, we're in the Marta Heating and Air Conditioning Studios, 724-2010-500. I got to pay a few bills here. Also, don't forget about Alex's Flowers. You need flowers for a wedding, any kind of an event, even to send some flowers to your loved one. Call Alex today, 412-661-6071. Give Alex a call. Alex's Flowers, 30 years in the business. He knows how to do flowers, arrangements, some great. He did my wedding, and I've also contracted him a few times to send some flowers to my mom and to my loved ones. He also helped me with my nephew's funeral. So Alex is the best with flowers. Alex's Flowers. Once again, 412-661-6071 or alexsflowers.com. Robin Campbell Insurance. Call Robin today. Look, Robin came to my house 10 years ago, and he sat down with me and explained insurance. That is how thorough Robin Campbell is. Farmers, Bristol West, any kind of insurance you need, call Robin today, 412-366-3399. All right, look, I'm handicapped. I'm in a wheelchair. I just recently purchased a wheelchair accessible van. Why? Because I want to make my life better. And I want you, if you're in a wheelchair, handicapped, disabled, I want you to make your life better too. So call Keystone Coachworks, 412-833-1900. Ask for Dawn. Tell Dawn Ralph Williams sent you. Keystone Coachworks for the best wheelchair accessible vans, and he'll equip them the way you want it, not the way he wants it, the way you want it. And Don is a very nice, personable man. He was able to help us with what we needed for my wheelchair accessible van, which I'm about to pick up in a few weeks because he's customizing it for me. So remember, don't forget Keystone Coachworks, and also Fold and Travel Mobility. If you can't afford a van and you want to finance a folding power wheelchair, call foldandtravelmobility.com. I have to take care of my handicapped brethren. Okay. It's 1-877-GOT-FOLD or foldandtravelmobility.com. They also do financing as well. So does Keystone Coachworks. All right. I had to get some bills out of the way.
Let me add one thing off of Jeremy. Okay. He talks about Jared Goff. Okay. But all Jared Goff does is win playoff games.
No, I'm not knocking it.
No, let me finish my point. No, let me finish my point. I'm not belittling your point. all Jared Goff does is win playoff games. And you know what? Hey, the Lions won too. I mean, and he won a bunch of them with the Rams. I think he was scapegoated over there. They wanted sexy instead of a guy that was steady. Okay, sexy over steady. But no, I'm not belittling your point. If anything, Jeremy, I'm backing it up that he deserved to get paid. No,
Yes, he does.
he did deserve to get. He was brought in there as a bridge quarterback, and all of a sudden he got a new contract. Does that say a lot for not only the system and the patience and the coaching staff? And cap it off, he beat Matthew Stafford in a playoff game. So not only did the Lions make well on the trade, even though the Rams got a Super Bowl, they got a lot of players, and then they beat the man that they traded in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
Scary thought, huh?
All right, guys, let's move on to our next topic. WNBA expansion. And this segment is brought to you by the original Hometown Pizza, 412-264-4444, University Boulevard, Moon Township. Stop in, eat in, take out, or delivery in the Moon area. Tell them Ralph Williams sent you. You will get a discount on your bill. All right, guys, WNBA expansion. Pittsburgh is a city on their radar. Some other cities, Salt Lake, I'm hearing, and a few other cities are on WNBA's radar because of what's going on right now with Caitlin Clark and so on. Now the WNBA is starting to make some substance out of itself. Okay, guys, we'll start with you, Jeremy.
I'm going to defer for a minute because I don't know much about that subject.
Right, that's fine. Okay, Scott.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, great pizza, by the way, Pizzeria Uno's here in Milwaukee, so Menominee Falls. All right, nothing against your sponsor. As far as the WNBA, I would love to see Detroit get another team back. I really would, because I think the financial backing there. I actually think the WNBA could be good for Pittsburgh, if you can imagine that. They don't have a professional basketball team there, and I think that they would be primed to get it. I think they're probably going to go more towards NBA cities right now, although you can't say that hasn't been the case in Seattle, where even though the Sonics left, they still have done pretty well there. So I would actually, as far as favorites are concerned, I could actually see a team out in Vancouver too, believe it or not. I really could. I mean, the Grizzlies left there, but I would actually tell you what, Ralph, I would think that Pittsburgh, I think Detroit would be right for an opportunity to get another team. I really do.
All right, Leo, your thoughts, WNBA expansion.
Oh, guys, I'll tell you, here's my thought. The WNBA better figure out real quick how to lock up Caitlin Clark, because one of these European teams are going to make her a stupid millionaire offer. And, excuse me, if Caitlin Clark leaves the NBA, it becomes unwatchable again.
Yes.
Nobody wants to see it. The fact that, and again, Clay Travis came out and said, the reason why no one likes Caitlin Clark is she's a white, straight girl in a black lesbian league, right? He came out and said that. I texted him back and said, hey, you're a little late to the party. I covered that 2 weeks ago with Gus Cattingill on ESPN, and we waited. We would have covered this 6 weeks ago, but we waited until the door opened. And the door opened when this black comedian, Charlemagne the God, came out and said, the only reason Caitlin Clark is being covered is because she's white. I said, okay, doors open, Gus, let's go. The fact that they can't see how good this girl is. She's a generational talent.
Yeah.
And a high tide floats all boats. The fact that these women are so vindictive as to what's going on. And I'll tell you what, this Olympic team, the women's basketball, they better win the gold medal. Because if they don't, all they're going to hear is no Caitlin Clark, no Reese, all a bunch of old women that can't play basketball anymore.
I'll tell you what, you are loaded, bro. Go ahead, Jeremy. You might as well go ahead.
Now I can talk about it.
Okay.
You said that about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese not being on the Olympic team. That's because they were playing for a national championship at the time the Olympic tryouts were. It is not their fault they can't be a part of the team. But when Diana Taurasi drops out, And also, Brittany Griner gets hurt. Why weren't they both added
Right.
as
That's
subs?
true.
That's what
Right.
should have happened. They should be in Paris right now. But at the same time, we saw they were finally able to put away those petty differences and play together on the All-Star team because they were feeding each other and looking good on the court playing. Can you imagine if they both would have got drafted by the same team?
Same
Oh,
team.
boy.
Oh yeah, that would have been
Yeah,
great.
Because
Leo, though.
Reese couldn't be so all the time to her, which is really what started this. It was the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark Kate that carried over from college to the NBA, WNBA. Now, getting Detroit a team would be nice. I personally think they did Bill Lambier wrong because at the time we were having coaching troubles with the Pistons, and they would have been much smarter instead of going out and getting SVG or the next Van Gundy that they thought would be good, or Troy Reaper and everybody else. They should have just promoted Bill Lambier from the Detroit Shock, who was 3 straight WNBA championships with them.
Yeah, but Jeremy, I'm going to tell you a little bit more behind that than what you're talking on the surface. Okay. First of all, I got to get to my point with Leo. To me, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are the equivalent to Magic and Larry, number one.
Exactly.
That's what they are. Number two, the reason why Lambier never even got a look in the NBA is he treated the media like crap. You cannot do that if you're the face of the organization, Jeremy. You haven't been there yet. Not to say you won't, but you better not bite the hand that feeds you. You can't. In fact, Bill Lambier, the only sniff of a head job he got in the NBA was with as an assistant coach for Kurt Rambis with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that a lot of the problem that we have with Bill Lambier is he alienated a lot of people, okay, in the NBA, and that's why he never got an opportunity. I'm not saying that his style wouldn't have worked. Number one, okay, his basketball IQ is extremely high, and he's a hard-nosed player. But you got to, if you're the face of the franchise coach, you got to deal with us every day, the good, the bad, and the ugly, for better or for worse. And Bill Lambier could not handle that scrutiny for 100 games a year, including preseason, where with the ladies, you only had 35, 40 games a year. It's a different animal, Jeremy, when you're covering the NBA versus the WNBA. So did the Pistons do him wrong? No, I think Bill Lambier did him wrong, himself wrong. And those are some, Leo, you know what I'm talking about, right? You cannot go out there and not be media friendly in your, because after all, you are the type of guy that's the face of that organization, not the general manager who's going to talk to you after every game. The head coach will. And that's why Bill Lambier did himself wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Scott, because if you treat the media wrong, like here in Pittsburgh, if someone, don't want to talk to the media, they eat you alive. And I mean, and Bill Lambier, if he's going to disrespect the media, that's a bad situation. And I agree with you on that.
You got to be cooperative. You don't have to like us, okay? But who's the one who's going to press the firing key? Fire this guy. Do it over and over and over and over. In fact, Leo, how long have you been in Tampa for?
35 years.
You ever heard of Carolyn Renfro?
Yep.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, many years ago, I had issues with that woman when she wouldn't talk to me when I was working for the Tampa Tribune, and I buried that woman with her assistant coach and her player. And when she had to come at me, my editors at the Tribune had my back. And I told Carolyn, no matter what happens, okay, win or lose, I need to talk to you. And this was during an Armwood Gaither game where Jackie Eisenhower was a part of it. She got smoked and didn't want to talk to me. So when I said, I'll bury you, I didn't tell her. So I went ahead and did, hey, the editors Tampa Tribune are expecting me to produce something, right? Not one, but two. And thankfully, the assistant and the player helped. But Carolyn Renfro, I nearly had her fired from, she at Plant City, I think, at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I nearly.
In fact, it's funny you should bring up Jackie Eisenhower. I worked with her. She was the assistant principal for curriculum, basically the athletic director at Gaither High School.
Yeah.
So, she could play. But I'll tell you what drives me nuts about the media, guys. And this is the problem right now with training camp. I could care less about the third-team quarterback throwing an interception.
Right.
I could care less about the fifth defensive back making an interception. The problem is there's nothing else to talk about.
Right.
So the media comes up. It's crazy because yesterday in Tampa Bay it says a terrible day for turnovers. Well, it was the third-team quarterback throwing 3 interceptions and the backup quarterback fumbling the ball. they're never going to see the field. So don't panic about that. And the last thing I want to cover, and the media is its own enemy on this. When a coach says, I'm done talking about this, that means he doesn't want any more questions. Yesterday, they asked him about Randy Gregory. He said, well, I'm only going to talk about people that are here. I don't want to talk about him. 3 more media members asked about Randy Gregory.
Oh,
you know what that tells me? You're not listening to what's going on.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a good one here. Brooke Pryor from ESPN. She handles the Steeler beat here. She drives Mike Tomlin crazy because she always asks questions after he'll, say to the media, I'm done here or whatever. And she'll start answering questions like that time when he had his contract, this is after a game and she's asking him about a contract. He just got up and walked out. And I don't blame him for that because Brooke Pryor will do that to you.
Yeah, she gets on my nerves. I don't know what it is. She just does. The fact that she's working for ESPN gives her a little higher profile. Yeah. But in my opinion, I just that woman. You get a sample size of certain people, and you wonder why she's doing what she's doing. I don't know. She doesn't impress me one bit. That's all I can tell you.
No, not at all. I agree, Scott, with you on that. Okay, guys, we're going to go around the horn here in our local segment, which will lead into our baseball segment as well, and. Which is also, don't forget, we're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios, 724-2010, 500 Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. Okay, we'll start with you, Leo. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Rays, your local stuff.
All right, the Bucs 3 days into camp, and what they decided to do is practice 3 and take a day off. So today's a day off. That's why I'm on here. Luckily, it's their day off. The biggest battle going on there right now is who's going to be the number 3 wideout. They're really looking at Jalen McMillan, the rookie from Washington, because of his size and speed. But you got Palmer also in there, who's from LSU, played in a pro-style offense. So there's going to be a big battle there. The second thing I'm looking at is the Rays. It's become a fire sale now. Arozarena, he's off to Seattle. Eflin got traded to Baltimore. They're going to start dumping salary, which is a shame. But again, the big thing they got, I want to know where McClanahan is in his rehab. Because you bring back, they've been trying to do this without McClanahan and Glasnow, who got traded to the Dodgers. You just don't lose your 1 and 1A. And expect your number 3 guy to step up, your number 4 guy. Just being at 500 is an accomplishment for the Rays. And again, I think what we're seeing play out down here is Major League. I think Stu Sternberg wants his team to fail so he can move them somewhere.
Yeah, right across the parking lot to that new building that he's going to have in, 4 or 5 years. How much does he think that the attendance is going to increase there unless you build it up? And will I be alive then to see it come to fruition? I don't know.
There's a wrench Scott, there's a wrench that went into that machinery the other day. Yeah, the St. Pete City Council approved it, but the Pinellas County Board is balking. So,
really?
Yeah, it's a problem.
No kidding. I didn't know it got to that point. Okay, that's interesting.
All right, let's go to you, Scott. Your local.
Well, my local is right now. When you look at the Miami Marlins scorecard by today or tomorrow, I'll be there tomorrow. You can rest assured they're going to need whiteout for most of it, because this team here, you're going to see a lot of new faces in new places, and it's just too bad that a year ago Kim Ming had built a playoff team with Skip Schumacher, and I can't believe I've seen a franchise fall this quickly so badly. Although I'd say that when Leland won the World Series many years ago, and then he had to deal with it a year later. This to me is just the only thing you're going to see is Skip Schumacher is glad that they didn't. He won't be here 3 years instead of 2, because he'll be the next Joe Girardi, and he'll go somewhere else and do well during his next stop. And Don Mattingly knows he got out at the right time as well. So Skip Schumacher could be. I think he's a good young manager from what I've gotten to see of him. The team is playing hard, but how quickly things have really fallen, that the Marlins are the worst team in the National League. But you know what? Unfortunately, that's what it is. And And I'll be honest with you, on your show, I'm not going to be around to cover them long enough for another rebuilding project. I have other things on my bucket list that I want to take care of. That's all there is to it. But how can you have 3 fire sales and convince a fan base to support you when the stadium is an absolutely lousy area? You pay $20 or $30 every game to park, depending on the opponent, over a stadium that shouldn't be where it's at. Huh?
It's $40 here to park your car.
Well, but the point is your stadium wasn't built in an area like this one here, where you've taken down in South Florida. Leo might know it, where you had Dade Broward and Palm Beach. You put that thing in Little Havana, and you have a lot less accessibility. That to me is a joke. And if this isn't good enough, there's the second worst in Major League Baseball in attendance behind the Oakland A's.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah, well,
I know you told me that their stadium is in a bad place, and that's why they're not drawing. And plus the team on top of that, too. But, I mean,
Well, Ralph, second worst attendance in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't define that, to me, it's an absolute joke. So I'm not knocking tomorrow from my standpoint. Hey, they're going to help me with at least 2 books and enough content, okay? But the reality of the situation is this. It's just amazing to see that Kimming and Skip Schumacher had them in the right direction a year ago, and now look where they're at. They're playing harder under Skip, but I wish Skip well in his next stop. Yep.
All right. Smoking Jeremy B., your local.
Yes, well, there's been a lot of hate thrown Jameson Williams' way over the last 6 months. And I wanted to clear some things up because they were like, well, he wasn't even starting games over Josh Reynolds. Au contraire, my frere. I just looked up his stats from last year, and I said he took over starting in week 7, right after he quit having his drop issues, which is way less than what the media reported it was through those first 3 games he played. He actually started 10 games last year. He was targeted 42 times and only had 4 drops listed logistically by the stats people. That is less than a 10% drop rate. Put this into context. We complained about TJ Hawkinson. We used to call him Hawkendrop or Droppinson or No Blockinson, whatever you wanted to call him while he was in Detroit, or often not on the fieldison. Either way, his drop rate was 22.8%, and nobody made boo about his hands. But this kid has less than a 10% drop rate when he started over half the season and didn't have another drop from week 7 once he started starting on the roster until the NFC Championship game. And if that's bad, you can all kiss my butt.
All right, guys. All right, now we're going to conclude, but I'm going to give you my local. Pirates are still hanging in there. I think, and I've said this many times, they're going to be 500 by the end of the season. I don't see them getting into the wild card. But I do see some improvement here. Trade deadline's coming up. We're going to find out what the Pirates do and what other teams are going to do in Major League Baseball as the trade deadline approaches. As far as the Steelers go, Russell Wilson has not practiced because he has a calf injury, but he's there at camp and he's doing some light workouts or light whatever he's doing there. But he has a calf injury. And but at least he's there, and at least he's met with the media, and he's doing his thing, and I appreciate that as well for that. Also, our so and then the WNBA talk. Allegheny County here, Pittsburgh area, has put in for the WNBA, and the WNBA is coming here to do a survey or an assessment to see if Pittsburgh is viable for a team. It would be nice if it was here. We tried to get an NBA team over the years, had some ABA teams back in the day. And so, we're going to find out what happens with Pittsburgh. The problem here is they don't support sports like that. We've had roller hockey. We've had 5 arena football teams here, and stuff like that. They just don't support them. So I don't know if Pittsburgh is viable to support another professional team other than the Penguins, Pirates, or the Steelers. They don't even show up for Pitt games. Pitt only draws about 30 or 40,000 fans per game, except for when they're playing a top-notch team. Then Acrisure Stadium sells out. Okay, so they don't even support that. Cincinnati Bearcats has the same problem because they're right in the thick of things with the Bengals and the Reds. So I understand exactly how, what the WNBA possibly could do here. All right, guys, let's go around the horn in our closing remarks. We'll start with you, Scott.
Well, my closing remarks is college football is nearby, and I'm looking forward to another interesting year in college football. The Miami Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal, this is year 3, so we'll see exactly whether the Hurricanes can go out there. I've always said that the Canes should have at least 3 years, and not quit pinning the blame on this guy after 2 years. And but I'll be curious to see how well they progress, and I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time, not only with the Miami Hurricanes, but your South Florida Bulls as well as Florida Atlantic as well. So I'm going to spread myself out this fall and see a lot of them. So don't worry, Leo. Get ready. We got some stuff ahead of us, buddy.
Yeah, you and Leo handle South Florida as well.
Yeah.
So
that ring doesn't lie, brother.
I know it don't.
I wear it proudly.
All right, Leo Haggerty.
Well, my closing remarks are, somebody send a memo to Florida State and Clemson that, 1, why are you getting out of the ACC? And 2, where are you going? Nobody wants you right now. Again, I would think they would want Clemson more than Florida State because Florida State hasn't been relevant for 10 years. They've had one good season last year. Now they want to jump ship. The problem is you're jumping off into the ocean because there's no life preserver next to you. The Big Ten doesn't want you. The SEC doesn't want you. They don't want to share revenue. Stick with the ACC. Make it what needs to be made because you're going to see a couple more teams jump, and the place to jump now is the ACC. They may end up getting a South Florida. They may end up getting an FAU to come in because what better place to have than to go to Florida when you're in the ACC? Because now you don't want to go west because Stanford, Cal, that's a jaunt. SMU in Texas, you may see another Texas team jump, but hey, it's time to settle this. And I'm going to give you one last thing. In 2 years, the 40 to 60 Power 4, Power 5 football teams will break away from the NCAA. They'll form their own conference, and Nick Saban will be the commissioner. Why? Eliminate the middleman. They don't need the NCAA. They can go right to the networks.
Hey, by the way, Leo, I have to add this because you make a great point. The Miami Hurricanes, I'll bet you would be welcomed by the Big Ten because you got a big market in South Florida, and they recruited well here. I don't know about the SEC because I think Florida would balk at it. But watch the Big Ten go after Miami.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, you can find me everywhere. I didn't even hear the subject. I'm sorry. I got a message about some important stuff personal wise.
Well, that's okay. I just asked for your closing remarks, and then if you
closing remarks.
Go ahead.
I hope everybody has a great weekend. We talk sports so much. Sometimes life gets in the way, and that's going to happen with everybody. Whether you are a professional sports player, whether you are a beat writer, whether you're a publisher, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a broadcaster. And we're a little bit of all of that here. So when something happens and our attention gets taken away, it's usually with good reason. But at the same time, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place.
All right, Scott, give us your information, how they can get a hold of you, and whatnot.
All right, www.southfloridatribune.com is a website. As Ralph showed you before, my book, Lessons from the Microphone, is on sale over at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. My Twitter account is at Tribune South, and our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. So there you go, Lessons from the Microphone. You can get it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble as well as other places, but those are the two main places. And if you get one, please write a good review. I guarantee you'll learn plenty. And book number 2 is on the way early next year.
All right, Leo.
Yeah, go to ampedupsports.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place. So I post a daily blog. We got Rob Creed. He'll start posting. Peter Blake, they're on there. We're going to have Ray Kennedy on there. So we are going to have a plethora of content for people to watch. Come see us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I know you were saying about how you want me to get more involved, and I will do that as well. And I appreciate that too, Leo. Thank you. All right, my closing remarks are this: there are those of you out there who are looking for me to fail, and I'm not saying you here as a panel here, my friends in media, but I'm talking about there are people out here in the Pittsburgh media that want to see me fail. Okay, PCTV went down on Wednesday. I dropped my radio show in May. I know what you're thinking. I'm done. No, you know what this does? This gives me more incentive to do more, and I'm doing more. I'm getting on Roku. I'm getting on Spotify. I'm getting on crsmmedia.com, a sports website. Amped Up Sports, I'm doing more. I'm going to talk to JB Ellis about Sideline Sports, doing more. And even with Scott on his thing. I am going to put my name out there so much that the whole world's going to know who I am by the time I'm done. You just gave me more incentive to want to do more. And you know what? When the Pittsburgh media comes a calling, I'm going to stay with what I'm doing, because you know why? You had your opportunity and you blew it. Okay. And now I'm doing national stuff, and I enjoy it more than I do in this town. And that's my closing remarks.
Well, you know what,
You're going to
Ralph?
have 2 words for him, Ralph, right? And it's not happy birthday or Merry Christmas.
That's
Yeah,
right.
more power to you, Ralph. It's funny how you say that. You know, I don't mind doing local stuff, but I think ultimately the direction to go is national anyway.
Yes.
So I've been having some of these thoughts as well, not because of who doubts, but I think that ultimately your visibility is better served nationally so you can hit more people. So I like the direction that you're going. More power to you.
I appreciate that, Scott. And you know what? Even though PCTV went down, I couldn't do my TV stuff. I had to restructure. But what I do is I come up with a plan B and a plan C.
Right.
I always come up with more plans, because you never know when plan A is not going to work.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I didn't expect this. This was a last minute thing, but I'm still working with some local officials here. We're going to try to save the station. We're going to reorganize and get rid of the president, because he's the one that ran it into the ground.
Great minds think alike, Ralph. Good stuff, brother.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you can reach me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, X. And you can also reach me on Tumblr. And I'm also on Instagram. And you can go on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, Ralph Williams, RW Media. This Tuesday, Sports Corner, we have our college football local special. I have someone coming on from West Virginia, Penn State, and Pitt. And Smoke and Jim and I are going to break down college conferences. We've been focusing on that lately. Last Tuesday we didn't focus on it because we did a Steelers special and an AFC North special. Leo was on, and so was Mike Sisak from Amped Up Sports. And for excuse me, wow, for Scott Morganroth, Jeremy Ballrich, and Leo Haggerty, I'm Ralph Williams. Until next week, next Saturday, we're going to talk about college football conferences, realignment, and a whole bunch of stuff next Saturday. Join us at 9 a.m. We're here, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And soon we're going to be on Spotify. And I'm working on my own Roku channel and a whole lot more. So for the guys here, my co-hosts, which I appreciate you being on, and I always appreciate the work you do as well. Have a great day, and God bless and be safe, please.
Take care, guys.
See ya. Jeremy. I'll call you.